Welcome to another VC Wisdom Pod. We have Ethan Reisel with us today. He's founder and managing partner at vgames. We're obviously going to talk about VC, the games ecosystem and the VC ecosystem in which Ethan is in. He's in Israel. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico. Last time I spoke with his partner, very interesting type of VCs that they're building. So this is going to be pretty fun. This podcast is presented to you by podbar.com. If you want to start and scale your own podcast, go to podfire.com. Ethan, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks, buddy. Pleasure to meet you, and thanks for having me. A bit about myself: father of four, so that's probably my first title. Born and raised in Israel. Currently taking this call from Tel Aviv. Been in the gaming industry for 15 years. Founder of vgames for 4. We manage almost $300 million, so pretty big in our sector. Invest in gaming companies all around the world. So we have companies from Latam, Asia, India, and US, Europe, and Israel, and actually Middle East. So I think almost everywhere in the world, maybe besides Australia and New Zealand. But we'll get there as well. What else can I tell you? Love playing games. It's has been a
What
passion.
games do you play?
So I'm a casual player. So I'm not. Actually, most of my team is more core players. But I'll play Fortnite with my kids for sure. Call of Duty when I was a bit younger. Play a lot of casual games, a lot of our portfolio games like Dice Dreams or Animal Coins or Matchmaster. So I spend quite a few hours a day playing. So my kids love it, and we can't complain, right?
So, yeah, I was a Call of Duty addict as well when I was young. I was quite good. After I think 6,000 hours of playing, I had a ratio of 2.5, 2.65. So you know like what that means. It means that you're pretty intense mofo, fueled by iced tea in your parent basements and playing way too much time on that game. Also played World of Warcraft, played at least 50 hours per week, was number one hunter PvP in my server. And recently I bought a Switch, but I got rid of it because I didn't have quote unquote time. Didn't like the neurochemical influence it had on my brain. More on that later. But yeah, I was playing Rocket League, which is quite amazing. Diablo 3 or 4, I forgot what that one was, and obviously Super Smash is a classic. Now, how the heck did you get that big in 4 short years at VGame?
That's a good question. We raised our first fund, which was 60. We were very lucky to back amazing founders. They build big companies. We went on to fund 2, soon fund 3, and I guess if you stick to backing amazing people that are going to build big companies, all the rest will come. And so I'm a founder as well. I'm a VC, but I also have to fundraise, and I'm an entrepreneur as much as I am an investor. So strong entrepreneurs, I guess, they don't see anything else but moving forward and growing. I think it's the same for us in vgames. So we're only getting started.
So strong entrepreneurs make better VCs than a VC that comes from a corporate finance background.
I think I don't know if better. The world is not. It's hard to compare, but I think that one backing for strong founders makes you a better investor. And I think there's an edge when you're a founder of a fund versus joining, of course, without derogating, of course, a larger fund. I think we go through what any founder goes in one of our companies. So I think that's another added value. When we come to the table as board members, investors, whatever. So.
Right. In 4 years, I'm guessing you didn't have a liquidity event yet.
Yeah, we actually did. We sold our first company around 4 months ago. We returned most of our fund 1 capital and part of our fund 2 as well. So we were very lucky. We sold a company called Inplay Labs to Playtika, I think 6 months ago now. So
What's the usual life cycle in your field? What's the timeline between investing in a company and getting to liquidity event?
Yeah, I think the word average in our world is probably the biggest lie because there aren't any averages. It depends how big the entrepreneurs want to build and how patient they are, and what their end goal is. I'd say that especially mobile games are faster probably than any other tech sector, just for you grow or you die quicker. So and if you grow, you can grow significantly. We have companies that we seeded 4 years ago and now making hundreds of millions of dollars in annual revenue. So it's less the liquidity, it's more when your assets materialize or there are alternatives to way to withdraw capital if you want to. I believe that it's better to be patient because then, on a 5x, if we can grow to 8x, then it's better off growing to 8x if the time is reasonable, right? So that's my philosophy into this.
The growth of the video game market generally, is it linear or is it exponential in some fields?
First of all, depending very much on what happens in the world, right? COVID helped a lot. It gave crazy backgrounds because people were locked down, and the only way to socialize. And I think for the first time, we started actually new audiences coming from the top, from the elderly, and now from the younger Gen Zs. So and also financial, stability also helped a lot our business because microtransactions people can still play even if they have less capital to go on big vacations and lucrative. So I think we're probably the cheapest source of entertainment possible today. It is a very, very big industry. Some don't know this. It's like a north of 200 billion consumer industry. A lot of the tech giants are entering this. Of course, Microsoft acquiring Activision, etc. So, it's not growing 100% year over year. Mobile is growing more significantly than PC and console just because more people have more devices. But in gaming, what's important is the more technology advances, the more you can play on different platforms, different types of games. So I think we're only in the right, we're only on the up here. We're not on the average or not on the down, which I think is great for us as investors, right?
And what segment of the market could be exponentially growing? Is it India's young population growing? Is it Nigeria's 30% of the population being age under 18? And what kind of games? Is it like Android games, or what segment of the market could be exponentially be growing at the moment?
Yeah, so I divide the question into two. One is the more people connected to internet in the world and the more devices, cheaper devices become more advanced, gives more access to people to play games. So you're 100% right on Africa, you know, uh, India, in general, like countries where, later developed but are picking up and getting there. On a business side, there are two games that launched in the past 2 years. Royal Match by a Turkish company and Monopoly Go by Scopely in the US. That Monopoly Go just reached $2 billion in 8 months, and I think Royal Match is not far from that, maybe a bit longer time period, but again, probably a year and a half or two. So casual has seen some breakthroughs, but also strong titles and strong IPs are still generating endless amount of capital. So the beauty about gaming is if the content is good and the game is good, people will play it. And it doesn't mean that they won't play other stuff. Sometimes it will add versus, it doesn't mean that you're going to stop playing something else. I guess people sleep less. that's but almost every category had a breakthrough, and there actually are categories like Forex and stuff like that we haven't seen a lot of innovation recently, but that's good. That means that we should look for founders that are building in these categories, and hopefully, even though some of them are red oceans, they'll still be able to build big companies.
Does Blizzard have an investment arm?
I don't know if Blizzard specifically, but Activision, yes, for sure, and Microsoft now owning that. Yeah, a lot of the tech giants have, or entertainment giants have direct investments as well. For part of them, it makes a lot of sense because it's very hard to innovate under a more legacy umbrella, and sometimes it's easier to back these strong teams, even if it's folks who previously worked with the company and working on something new. That's equity capital versus P&L, so makes a lot of sense. Yeah, most of the strategic investors, what we call, are pretty active. Tencent, NetEase, Activision in past years, Riot, etc. So
And what's your thesis this year? What's your focus? You want to go from 400 million to 600s? What's your goals?
I wouldn't say our goals is to grow our funds. I think that's a sub of if we need more capital to back more founders, right? We don't have like targets of how much we want to. We're building this business based on the cash that we need, just not not just based on how much capital we want to raise. I'm not sure that's an interesting point for us. We want to make sure that we continue backing strong founders and help our existing portfolio grow. One of the things that we do in vgames, I think, a bit different than other funds is when our companies come to this growth mode, we really double down on them versus bringing external investors in. In gaming, you can relatively know quickly if you're on the right track or not, and if we are, why to share it with others. That may be a heritage or a problem when we don't do that because it's a signal. But we try to be very transparent in our thesis and the way that we invest. Continue growing our companies, our business. Hopefully, having more companies that are making hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, because that means that they have amazing games that people enjoy playing, and investing money into them. So that's what we're here for.
So what's your criteria for investment in a founder, and how do you spot the potential product market fit?
Yeah, so we're very early stage investors in our thesis. Most of our capital goes into pre-seed and seed, and then the later stage comes more as follow-on. Always founders. I think there are a few value propositions that you need for a gaming founder or a gaming team. One, it's a pretty competitive market, so people have to be pretty resilient, but also be resilient with each other. So we prefer to back founders that have a long history together. I don't care if they were classmates or built other businesses or worked in a company together, but they went through highs and lows before they founded a company. Second, I think that gaming in a way is an art, right? So somebody from the founding team should be, there are things that you can't describe in words about games, but there's a hunch, there's a feeling, there's psychology. And I think three, and this has matured over the years, and a thesis that we changed a lot is really somebody from the founding team should have a very strong go-to-market plan or mindset, because it's not, to build a game is great, but you need to get it into users' hands, and that's, I think, a very strong component. And it's not easy, and it's super expensive. And then of course we check the category. The fact that it's a red ocean doesn't mean a lot. There's still amazing games that grow into red ocean, so it's more the quality of production and how unique the value proposition is, or what in the game mechanic makes it so special. And then we of course analyze team, category, growth opportunities, etc. But again, most of the times we come in very early. It's usually just the team, and for us, that's what we bet on. We're not betting on products; we're betting on people. So that's our thesis.
And do you feel that historically games have needed capital, or they can still go bootstrap nowadays and have a competitive edge?
It really depends what you want to build. There's still most of our industries indie developers, which many of them are bootstrap. You have two people in a garage making a decent amount of money and growing beautifully, and it's great. I think that's amazing. I don't know if we would drive the returns that we're expecting as VCs, so it's probably less interesting for us to back. But the majority of games played today are indie games, which I think is amazing because it's a creator world and a creator economy. I think to build very big companies today, you do need to raise capital just because marketing is super expensive. It's not just for developing. Actually, developing games is probably relatively cheaper than other tech R&D costs and stuff like that. It's much more on the distribution where most of the capital goes to. And it's very hard today to sponsor it yourself or to surface among so much noise and so much content. So I think it's hard to build gaming companies today that are bootstrap. If you want to build the next King, for example.
Tell us about AI in video games nowadays.
So it's a great question. So I don't think it's going to replace game building, but we're already seeing a lot of impact of AI on gaming. I think in two probably main paths. One is art. So a lot of 2D assets that used to be designed by artists today are designed by tools upon Midjourney, etc. Like people enhancing Stable Diffusion and building their own solutions. And I think a lot of like the narrative part, storytelling, ChatGPT is doing a pretty good job there. And of course, those are not small things. Like they can reduce production costs, they can bring you to market faster. The total amount that you need to build a game can be relatively cheaper than it was 6 months ago or a year. So I think the impact is significant. I think we're years away from AI really building full custom games. But we'll get there. And the more technology advances, the more we'll see amazing products coming out of it. So, we're patient and anxious.
This year and the last one, did the war affected your work?
In what sense? In like a financial sense?
Any sense?
Yeah, I think we had to focus much more on quality. I think I think we understand that every year going by, the world becomes more competitive in terms of fundraising, in terms of building products, and especially in terms of shipping them. And I think that a lot on the quality side of what at what level of production do you launch games into the market today is super important. People want to play amazing games. They don't want to play average content because there's enough amazing out there. That's an important emphasis. And financial markets were not in the best condition in the past 2 years for VC funding. And that's of course struggling for founders, and strong founders were not able to raise a very difficult valuations, etc. But I think that keeps people more tight, more lean, and I think it's only for good, right? So I actually think that those who are resilient and stayed and floated above the water, those are going to win. So I see yeah, I guess every time a challenge comes in, we have to just convert it into an opportunity and play with it as it goes.
Do you miss building found startups? Doesn't it feel a bit alien to you to invest money full time instead of building actual games?
It's a good question. In my age, 43 years old, so I had my crisis a bit early, but you have to go back to the values and where you think you can be better than others, right? And I think that what I'm doing today, I can be better than others. I don't know if I am or not. I'm not sure if building games would be my strongest pillar or value proposition. And I think being a VC, raising capital, supporting founders, helping them, zoom in and zoom out when they need. I think this is probably a sweet spot that I feel more comfortable in. I think I have a competitive advantage, and that's probably the reason why I have vgames and not a gaming company. But that may change in the future. So we're still young.
What does your day to day look like in life and business to keep yourself happy and productive?
Try to work out every day at 6 a.m. Uh, Usually that works because I think that's an important way to start the day. Then you're fully energized. Spend time with my kids, take them to school, go to work, commute, and then meetings, meet new founders, talk to existing. A lot of time with the portfolio. That's my passion. I love working with our founders. Some internal work. Go home, glass of wine, and go to sleep. Can't complain. Here and there, do some vacation and try to limit my business traveling because I like sleeping in the house with my children. So that's pretty much. May sound boring, but I'm pretty satisfied with it. So.
There you go. Who are you learning from nowadays?
Wow, that's with so many people, from my colleagues, my team members, my founders, my children, a lot. I think they have such a beautiful eye into our industry. Actually, my oldest son, I think, I don't know if my LPs know, but there are two investments that actually I did because he signed them off. So I think that's a great thing. Yeah, in general, I think kids can teach us so much about this space, about this world. You see a kid how they turn on Fortnite and start playing. It's faster than I can make a cup of coffee in the morning. So I'm amazed by it every day and how much socializing on the platforms and how they meet new people. And yeah, I think there's a lot for us to learn from the next generations, growing into adults. So that's probably my number one source of education.
So is there a way to socialize or to live one's life? Because as I told you, I grew up on these video games too. Socialize there. I was quite reclusive for some time, but panned out pretty well as an adult. So as parents, should there be restrictions on video games, and should there be you should do that, and course corrections in kids that play video games most of their time?
Yeah, I think the best answer always as a parent, and my wife and I speak about this oftenly, is what the alternative is. So my children are very involved in sports, you know, and they don't spend their entire day on the screens. On the other hand, when they're on the screen, you know, they're with friends and they're communicating and they're meeting new people and they're speaking other languages. So I'm not a big believer in avoiding your children to do what they're passionate about, and I think, you know, even among communities. So yeah, I think as parents, you know, we have each has his own perspective or her perspective on life. Saying no all day is not the philosophy that we believe in, but you know, I don't know if we're right or wrong. Ask me in 20 years, but I'm pretty happy with my children are very heart and giving and very fun, and you know, and so I can't complain. And they play a lot of games. So does their father. So their mother less, but you know, she's getting into it. She doesn't have any other options. So.
What company is catching your attention in the field and really impressing you in terms of deployment, technology, or just what they're onto?
Yeah, so I can always use our portfolio, right? But it's like picking your baby. I actually love Dream Games, the Turkish company that's behind Raw Match. I think their level of production is literally insane. I've never seen such a. So it's like watching a Hollywood, you know, Spielberg film and playing it every day, just watching it every day, and content and reuse and the art and game design. You know, I respect founders and companies that are able to reach that level of execution. I think it says so much about their discipline, their culture, and it amazes me. And there are many gaming companies that can say the same for that. Yeah, so I'm a big believer and fan of our category.
So quite special that they're in Turkey. Turkey. I didn't study them. Why do you think they're that great at deploying amazingness that fast?
One, Turkey is one of the largest mobile gaming manufacturers in the world today. Also, Israel is. You know, that's a part of why vgames is based out of here. Um, I think a lot of people play games there, and you know, spend a lot of time on playing games, which is the most important criteria for building games and building gaming companies. Should be playing a lot. Um, and I think that, you know, it's just the level of product and details is unbelievable, and you see that for many companies who are founded in Turkey, and that allows them to build amazing products. So, and so they do. So.
Where can people find out more about you, Ethan?
vgames.vc, you're welcome to contact us. We invest primarily in content and game studios. So just reach out and we promise to answer very quickly. So